Thank you for sitting down with me today, John, to discuss all things energy saving, energy bills and substitutes. Give us a little bit of an insight to who you guys are and what you guys do.
Yeah, thank you for your time, Megan. So here at UPOWA, we design, supply and install renewable technologies primarily for the new build sector.
Yeah.
We've been doing this since 2008, so we've tried all the technologies, and we are partners with the top house builders like yourselves to provide renewable solutions to the end customer. Personally, I joined UPOWA from the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
So I joined from was director at Shell, where I thought we were making good strides in the renewable technology and the energy transition, but the opportunity in new builds really gave me an opportunity to springboard that and make a big change for it. So that's what we do, and like I say, we are part of the Breedability Group, but we provide and supply renewable technologies to new builds.
So I know that our company are putting their best foot forward to make their homes more energy efficient, installing things like solar panels, which you guys do. Mm-hmm. Give me a little bit more info on that, because I call them solar panels, but a lot of people call them PV panels. So just
absolutely, yeah. There's lots of confusion around it. So it's solar panels there's two types of solar panels. One is solar thermal, one is PV panels, which is photovoltaic panels, and those are the ones that we install. Yeah. Mainly because the technologies that they're no longer a new technology on the bunks. They've got more and more efficient as time goes on, and they're a very safe, reliable source of renewable technologies. Yeah. So we provide PV panels, and we've been installing PV panels since 2008. Now, what they do, they take ambient light from the sun and convert it into electricity, which can be utilised in the home, and anything that isn't utilised in the home can either be stored in the home or then put back to the grid. It's a great way of providing green, renewable energy directly to these homes, and enables them to insulate themselves from rising energy costs.
So that helps them when people go to you, our PV panels don't work because we've got no sun in the UK.
Absolutely. It's one of the biggest myths out there. So they work from light. So absolutely, they do provide and generate different amounts of energy depending on the weather conditions. And obviously in the winter you have less sunlight hours, so therefore it does generate less energy in the winter than it does in the summer. However, it's a complete myth that it doesn't generate in the winter times. You put PV panels on your roof, you will get generation all year round.
We currently save, so excluding solar panels, our homes built and designed save up to 65% on your energy bills, mm-hmm. which I think on average is just over £2,000 per consumer, which is amazing. Obviously,
fantastic.
There's definitely more we can do.
Yes.
What other things would you guys recommend that we could do or install to help with mm-hmm. those energy savings? And any stats and figures to help battle against the consumer who go, well, installing these energy saving substitutes are extortionate based on what they get on return?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's a question which we get a lot, as you can imagine. People talk about the ROI on solar panels, and it is important, but what's happened recently is the price of solar panels have come down and the efficiencies and the size of them has gone up. Yeah. So as a result of that, you get a greater output for your upfront costs anyway. The value of it in general is that if you put if I summarise it, on a normal household, if you put a 2.5 kilowatt peak system on, which is a normal system, 6 to 8 panels on a roof, you will be able to generate roughly 3,000 kilowatt hours a year. Now, to put that into context of how people would understand that, that is just over what the average household uses a year on power, on electricity.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, obviously, utilisation is then the key. So your solar panels generate power when it's light, and that's the point where you have the free electricity. To maximise that and optimise that even further, you can provide it with a battery storage in the home to really help you from the peaks. Now, if you don't have that, your solar panels will absolutely save you energy. You'll save about 35% utilisation of your solar panels at any one point, which means you can reduce down your power bill, your electricity bill, substantially. If you combine it with a battery, you can optimise that by up to 85%, and with a intelligent batteries that we have as well, you can get up to 85-90%. So you can really reduce down your electricity energy bill to the bare minimum that you can have in the household. Now, with rising prices, that's very, very important to the households, and it also demystifies what you need to do. The key point to this is that when we move away from gas as well, power will become much more prominent in the household, in the home. So you're using it for heating your hot water, if you're cooking, using it for electric vehicles as well. So not only can solar panels and battery help against your normal running costs of houses today, in the future they become more and more important as we rely on electricity more and more.
So obviously Barratt are trialling different things across our different developments. One, we've installed heat source pumps, others they're trialling different gas renewables in our forklift drivers and vehicles. Do you see other trends coming from consumers and other commercial house builders? Yeah,
so I think where we've got up till this point, we've been putting solar and renewable technologies on to hit a government-led standard historically. And I think what's been really reassuring is that all house builders and yourselves are trying to then move past just what needs to be done on a regulation basis to actually provide houses that are suitable for the world we live in. So which is removing CO2, making them more airtight. So the good news is that this is driven by both legislation, because there's future home standards coming in, but also end customers are really demanding this, and you'll find this. So your customers not only will be asking you about solar panels, they'll be demanding that they have more solar panels on the roofs. We get phone calls where people want to upgrade to a larger system or to add a battery. But all those technologies, they're great individually and they are fantastic. So solar panels will save you money, and air source heat pumps is more efficient to heat your water or heat your home over time. A battery is great for storage data and minimising your use of electricity at the peak times. However, they work a lot better when you combine them together. You always get a compound interest impact. So if you have solar batteries and batteries combined with an air source heat pump, hot water cylinder and efficient electric heating, then you're going to bring it down more than if you have any of them by themselves. So what we're finding is that house builders are exploring what is the right mix of energy efficiency products depending on the house types, and it will change depending on the house types. So some will require an air source heat pump to do everything, to do all your heating as well as your hot water, whereas others, a air source heat pump hot water cylinder and infrared panels or electric heaters will be suitable for the small terrace houses. So it's trying to work out, based on the house types, what's the right technology. What I will say is that the more and more you put in is going to help us when we have the need for 1 or 2 electric vehicles on the road, on the driveway, when you've got all your power needs needed for electricity. So electric vehicle charging is one that we are seeing a lot going in and very efficient. And you want to make sure that obviously with the new regulation they're fully smart, which means they can be charged overnight when electricity is cheaper. But also that means you're not taking away from electricity from the household when you need to at peak times. So you've highlighted all those technologies. They are fantastic individually. But what we are advocating is that you don't just want to put in 1 or 2 to tick off a regulation.
No, you want to combine them all.
You want to combine them all, and consumers are no longer wanting just 1 or 2 panels. They want to be seen to be green. When I started here, we were being asked to put solar panels. We were asked to hide them around the back of the building.
For aesthetic
reasons. The new panels, our new panels are 400 watts and they're all black and they sit in roof. So you can hardly see them against a slate tile. They look fantastic. We are now getting customers demanding that they're at the front of the house because they want to be seen to be green. So they want to visual badge to their friends, their family.
They're putting their best foot forward.
And the younger generation are demanding this as well. Even my children demanding electric vehicles, when we're going to have solar panels on the roof. And it's infiltrated every part of their education, which is fantastic. So to go back to the question, a mix of technologies is fantastic, and there isn't one combination which is right for every single house. You have to work through the right house types and the right things. What we do, we will work with the developer on what is the requirements for that house, for that plot, for the development, against CO2 savings, generation needs, and we will provide the right mix of technologies for that particular scenario. And we're being asked more and more about how we can do that for retrofit for housing associations, but also end customers.
It's funny you should say that, because we did a survey almost during COVID as to how people understood energy efficiency, sustainable substitutes, and people said that they would actually choose a garden size, the higher percentage, I think it was about 54% said they would choose a bigger garden over energy renewals. Now, we did one a couple of weeks ago, and it's flipped.
Right.
So it just goes to show how people are transitioning into that renewables, energy savings, and how they can do their part.
Absolutely, and I'm not surprised by that. So they go a bit hand in hand, don't they? Because in an outdoor space you can have a hybrid office, for example, right? But absolutely, it's become more and more apparent with the energy crisis as well, and the energy prices. So you're now seeing that under the new freezer, the price cap, I think it's 34 pence is what the average kilowatt is. Now, if you can get that from your house by yourself and store it, then you are obviously saving 34p for every usage. If you want to combine it with a battery, you forego having to send that back to the grid, where you can earn maximum 5-6p, and then buy it back later at 34p. If you store it yourself, you can do that. So I'm not surprised about it. I've seen similar research from independent parties that people are now looking at renewable technologies almost as a must-have for their homes. And especially, like I say, the demographics means that the new generation buying houses, they're much more open to these technologies for cost of living, but B, doing the right thing for the planet and reducing down the CO2
they
and their
are
footprint.
very much for the planet, aren't they? Especially the new generation coming through, which you can see. One thing I was going to say, with the increase in energy prices, do you think that's going to curve people buying electric vehicles? Because obviously they were all for it, especially with the fuel increases, etc. Now you've got the energy prices going up. Do you think that will slow or change people's opinion on electric cars? Yeah,
there's certainly been a lot out and about in the press about it recently. I think we need to be careful of a few sensationalising headlines about costs. The costs they're talking about are the ultra-fast costs of the mega-fast chargers they have out on the road. It is still a lot cheaper to charge a car using off-peak times overnight, which all smart chargers have as a default settings, using an energy provider where you can reduce down the price. For the average electric vehicle owner, they're not paying 34 pence for it. They charge it overnight and that way around. What I can say is that over time, price of energy doesn't go down, but also price of petrol hasn't gone down either.
Exactly.
And there's a double benefit there. Obviously, the zero emissions from an electric vehicle obviously helps, and it has to be, me for one, if I could every single morning have a full tank of petrol in essence on my drive without having to go to a petrol station to fill it up, it's a win for me. So there is a lot of noise about it. I think we need to be careful how we interpret that noise. Now, renewable technology, it isn't for everyone at every point. The adoption rates will come and go depending on people's bespoke situations, especially with the range. But with the range going up and up in electric vehicles, I can see only going one way.
Well, they are only getting better, aren't they?
They're only getting better, absolutely. And now, under the new regulation, every single parking space in a new build development has to have one as well. So what we do here, we make sure that we provide a future-proof electric vehicle charger that is future-proof against the new regulations as well as the ones that are out right now, so that hopefully by the time any of the residents either have an electric vehicle or get one in the future, it's suitable for their needs then and not just for the needs right now. So.
I mean, we aim to put an electric vehicle charging point in most of our homes across our developments. But how easy is it if, say, a consumer then wanted to come and retrofit one? It's quite straightforward to do.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It is obviously easier if it's done at point of construction because you have all the wiring done. So what we recommend is, even if you don't put in a full charger at point of construction, you put in the wiring for it to go from the consumer unit to where the most appropriate place for an EV charger would be. In terms of renewable technologies, the retrofit or adding in a electric vehicle charger compared to putting solar on your roof and other parts of that, you don't need scaffolding, for example. Depending on where you want the charger, you might have some groundworks needed for it, but it's not a intrusive
Yeah.
retrofit like some other ones, but what I would say, it becomes even easier if you do it either at point of construction, or you put in a lot of the hard work up front, and it is as simple as running the cable from the consumer unit to a position on the outside of the house, and you have a safe termination box on the outside of the house there, which it makes sense. The good news for most of the technologies, things like batteries, the batteries that we provide are modular. So you can start off with a 5 kilowatt system and actually add in another 5 kilowatts or another 5 kilowatts if you increase your solar size or increase your efficiencies or you change your technology or your working habits as well. Because it's really hard to, while we can optimise what we put into a house up front, it really isn't until someone moves in and uses the house and lives in it that you actually work out what is right for them.
What is required.
Exactly, because some people will work from home all week, for example, and use the energy as it's being generated, which is fantastic. Others will be out full-time at work. Others will be in for half the time. Some have children, some don't. And so it really does tailor depending on the house types.
But it gives you that adaptability depending on their lifestyle.
Absolutely. But if you put in a good amount of solar up front, it will save every household. The size of the battery can be optimised as time goes on, but if you put in a battery there, it can optimise and bring down the cost even further, especially at peak times. And then a smart EV charger and air source heat pumps and other technologies are a fantastic addition to new houses. We may have to change how we educate customers and how they heat their homes. You know, it's not an instant switch on sometimes for some of the new technologies, but as we evolve into the new technologies, that's something that we can help educate customers about.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a vital point, as you say, because as much as the younger generation are very much there for the energy saving and energy resources and stuff, but actually educating them on how to use them and the benefits of them even further would be extremely beneficial for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, that's where you need to make sure we tailor these products and services for every part of the population. You know, that there's people that are early adopters, very used to using apps on mobile phones to control everything, and then there's people which
I've probably never picked
up in their life, exactly. And the thought of controlling their heating and their entire house via their mobile phone will scare them. So we need to make sure we apply the appropriate level of education to everyone around this, every part of it. And that's what we aim to do. So we will work with developers to make sure we have handover packs, but also online tuitions, but we'll also, if there's real issues, then we're always available to provide that education piece for it.
What sort of trends or possible things can you see happening in the future for sustainable energy and renewable energies?
I think there's opportunities to look at a difference between individual house plots and more community-based elements. So that's community batteries rather than individual batteries in homes, solar energy or sharing energy generated within developments and plots, so almost microgrids around the place rather than my house number 32 and that's my energy and what I've generated, that's for me. It might be a bit more community sharing. But then you've got the likes of, personally, I'd like to see us explore and expand in something like tidal power and wind power. And the good thing about the UK is that we're an island. So when it's sunny, there's great solar power. But when it's not sunny, it tends to be a bit windier. Right? True. And there tends to be more wilder sea conditions, which means more tidal power. So we've got a good mix of power. Our renewable mix is such that actually they complement each other, which means the downtime on the grid should be lower. I think there's nothing off the table here. We should be able to generate as much green energy as we need to provide power to the homes. And we need to be able to balance the grid in such a mechanism. It's more, the challenge is going to be about distribution of the power to me, not generation of the power. So how do we get the power to the right place at the right time, which means that we have to move away necessarily from, exactly like I said, number 34's solar and battery, that's their power. But we may well get there sooner than we think, but it's one which will take time. But first, let's get all the renewables on people's homes. Let's have a look at the retrofit. The retrofit challenge is a big one, which is why we concentrate on new builds, because it's a lot more efficient to put it in at construction stage. But we need to find the right solutions for retrofits in the country, because we have a very large housing stock out there which is very inefficient. And you mentioned earlier that the efficiencies of your new houses compared to existing stock is
exactly, and why not just continue and increase that energy efficiency? I think, you know, our EPC ratings are nice and low. We want our homes to be really warm, so, you know, we put in those elements there to make that happen. And like you say, adding these additional ones like we are doing across our developments is just a win, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and it makes a new build house more and more attractive. Right, so the running cost of a new build house is low and low. We need to be very mindful that the new build houses are fantastic, and in fact we need to start thinking about if there's an issue with overheating rather than being too cold, rather than way back. But there is a long tail of houses in the UK that we need to find a solution for. Now, whether that's renewable technologies or whether that's greater insulation or be it anything else, then we need to come at this in both directions. But the new build sector is definitely one that can rise above and be a shining star for home efficient houses, or energy efficient houses I should say, in that sense, because of the opportunity you have to do it.
Well, you can shape it, can't you? You can shape it not only for the future but also for the consumer to be the most energy efficient. So you had a tour of Canfor Paddock, one of our local developments, and Farrow Place, its new phase where we're installing the solar panels there. Like you say, a lot of our consumers at first didn't want to see solar panels, but now they do want to see them. And I believe we've positioned them so they're in the most beneficial location.
Absolutely. It was really valuable to actually get onto site and to see them being generated and see them going up. They look fantastic. They're all in line. They're slick within the roofs.
They're integrated, aren't they?
Integrated in the roof, absolutely, which look brilliant. Absolutely. What we do when we have the site and the layouts, we design the solar panels to be optimised against output, against generation, depending on where you can have the houses. And funnily enough, the site there lends itself really nice. It's a really good site. But all the future designs, we're starting to see and feed back to the likes of yourselves that actually, with a few tweaks, you can optimise even further. You know, some of the way you can optimise in terms of the positional layout of solar panel is such. But we're putting it. The good thing about the site that we went round last week, we're not putting one or two panels on. We're putting a full roof of panels on there, which means the real value going to the end customer. And it was really good to see. The installations have been fantastic. The finished houses look brilliant, and the other phases were on the way there as well. So it was really valuable to get out onto site, talk to the people actually putting the panels on the roof, building the houses, and also into the sales teams as well, to find out what feedback they're getting from end customers in the same way. So I see in the future that, you know, not only can we put these technologies on up front, but we can also, you know, at the point when you buy a house, you can pick your door handles, but you can't say,
can I have solar?
Can I have more solar panels? Can I add a battery to that? What other technologies can I have to make my house more efficient? And that's where we'd like to get to. And we already field those questions from your customers already, and we'd like to work with you on that. But it was really good to see on site. It's a really valuable site, quite close to here, which is handy as well. But no, it was a very impressive setup.
I think you can also see the passion from the team about solar energy and getting that message across to the consumer, but also, like you say, the feedback from the consumer themselves that absolutely want those elements in their house.
It's no longer a headache. It's not being done just because you have to do them anymore. It's you can see the value in it, and you can see the finish that people are taking real pride in it. So we obviously install all the panels, and then the roofer finishes off tiling around them, and finishes off, and the level of detail and the workmanship to make sure that they're setting it correctly against our panels was fantastic to see, because what we don't want is different tradesmen working and then not putting it all together.
That level of care, isn't it?
Level of care, absolutely.
And that community strive to make it the best it can possibly be.
We went there with our head of operations as well, and he was constantly inspecting the work done by not only our work, our team, but everyone involved, and we're talking about it. So it was really, really good to see, and the feedback has been fantastic.
Good. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and discussing things with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to what the future holds for sustainable and energy efficient products.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.